If you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am the Wiz, and I'm here today with...
Kim Shactman.
Take two, Kim Shactman. How you doing today?
Good. We started recording, and then we're like, quarter of the way through, and Wiz is like, this is not working. I'm like, what?
Yeah. We got to the intro.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. We got to the intro, which I'm like, wait a minute, something's up. And then I looked down, I'm like, it's not recording. Crap. So...
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. Long night. I am tired. I know you are too. So
yes,
yeah.
We haven't been feeling that great. A little sickness going through. So yeah.
So we are here today to review the 2023 comedic drama, The Holdovers, starring Paul Giamatti, Dominic, Sessa, and Divine Joy Randolph, directed by Alexander Payne. One of the things I was looking forward to in this movie is this is a new Alexander Payne movie. He hasn't made a movie in a while, and the last movie I heard was not great, which was Downsizing. Something that we kind of mentioned in the old intro that never got recorded.
Yes, and I mentioned that I did end up watching that movie. The minute you told me it was with Matt Damon, it jogged my memory again, and it was okay. Mm-hmm. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it, and yeah, it was all right. I mean, you'd have to see it to confirm for yourself, but yeah. But then you mentioned, I forgot that he did Sideways.
Yes, Sideways is his most celebrated film. Yeah, and I was excited because I did end up enjoying that movie, and it was my stepmother's favorite movie. So yeah, that's how I came across it. The first movie I watched that was from Alexander Payne was Election, which is something, if you haven't seen, even if you're not into teen comedies, it's worth it. It is such a hilarious movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, and I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, so definitely check that out if you haven't gotten the chance. But the one thing that I like about Payne is that his film is a lot about characters. Another movie he's done is about Schmidt. That's a very good movie as well. I think I saw that when I was younger. I think I might like that movie a little bit more now that I'm a little older now. So that might
I don't know if I've seen that. I don't think I have. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, it's with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
But now, when this movie was announced, and it was Alexander Payne coming back with Paul Giamatti, I was like, oh my god, yes. Hopefully they'll bring back some of the magic that they had with Sideways. So, did they do that? Let us find out in our review of The Holdovers, directed by Alexander Payne.
So, before we jump into that, I don't know, did you already mention this, that it was, up for a bunch of awards? Tell me about these awards.
Okay, so... before we get to the plot, we'll go into the awards that it's being nominated for. Being nominated for 5 Academy Awards. Yep, I got that right. Including Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, which is Divine Joy Randolph, and Best Original Screenplay. Right now, people who predict this stuff, they think it's likely Giamatti will win Best Actor, and Joy Randolph will win Best Supporting Actress.
I hope so.
Yeah, and... honestly, Best Actor is still a little squirrely as well because it might still go to Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer.
Okay.
But yeah, right now, the lock right now is Divine Joy Randolph. They seem to think she's just a lock. She'll win it. Nothing's going to change. There's that as well. So, but picture is not going to happen. I can already tell that.
It's exciting, though.
Yeah. I think it deserves the nominations it's gotten. We're presupposing what we think about the movie, so why don't
let's get into the review.
Yeah, so let's get into the plot of The Holdovers.
Yes.
Basically, it's about a really curmudgeonly history teacher, played by Paul Giamatti, who gets stuck taking care of a bunch of students who were held over during the holiday season at a boarding school. This is set around the 70s, I believe. And basically, it's about this teacher who is looking after these kids, along with a cook who's played by Divine Joy Randolph, who is grieving over her recently deceased son who died in combat at war. That's essentially the plot. Nothing too complicated there. So why don't we just get into our 3 points? Kim, do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, our first point is very similar, so we can kind of talk to this together, but excellent performances, as you mentioned about the director. That is his niche, right? Is performance piece films. But oh my god, Paul Giamatti was so good. They were all just excellent, and they played so well off of each other.
Yes.
And I don't know what it was. I just felt like it was so real. Acting was so real. I didn't feel like they had to learn lines off of a script. Like, it was just, everything flowed so nicely.
I think the three actors, which are Giamatti, Dominic, Sessa, and Divine Joy Randolph, they worked well with each other. And on top of that, it wasn't a film where the characters kind of... Sometimes when they do films like this, their personalities meld to a certain extent. Like, they kind of share personality traits as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
And that's not what happens in this movie.
No.
They kind of stay the same. Like, Paul Giamatti's character is, in all intents and purposes, kind of an asshole in this movie. And that doesn't
he's
change.
He's like miserable.
Yeah. And that does not change throughout the film. He is just...
He just is who he is, and that's
right.
okay.
Right. And the same thing with Mary, who's played by Randolph. She's kind of no nonsense, but she's a much more... well, she's grieving, so she's having serious problems dealing with the death of her son. And then there's Dominic Sessa's character. I forgot his name, unfortunately. And his character... Angus. Oh, God, how can I forget that name? And his character is going through the fact that his parents, or I guess his mother and his stepfather, seem to not really care that he's stuck in the boarding school.
He's the classic, let's send the kid to boarding school so we don't have to deal with him.
Pretty much, yeah. But these performances are really good. And this is usually from a movie that, I guess nowadays, you wouldn't think these performances would be that great. But this is going to probably go into my second point, too. These three performances work so well together because it also helps with, which is my second point, that maintains a really good tone that doesn't get too sappy, sentimental. And the thing is, these three characters, if they were to dominate the film, and some might question whether Giamatti dominates the film. I just think his performance is fantastic, and I don't think that means his character dominates. But the way that this film is, it could have really overpowered in one way with the tone and made the other elements of the film not feel as good. But they do such a great job giving everybody...
Everything balances.
Exactly, yes.
Like, that was, like, one of the biggest things, like, I took, even just straight from the beginning of the film, I felt like, wow, this is, like, I don't feel like anyone's taking over the screen.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, too, because, and like we mentioned in the performances, the characters stay themselves throughout the entire time. They do grow. There is growth there, but it's not one of those things where, and the curmudgeon-y professor who hates everyone suddenly likes everyone. No, that's not what happens.
No. It's like subtle realizations in their lives, and then you can tell they're going to work to change them. It's not this, like, complete transformation.
Just the way that the tone doesn't stray too far on one side, I think really was a great thing about this movie. And that has a lot to do with the actors, how they do the performances. They don't get too theatrical. They don't get too much in one way. But it's also with Alexander Payne, who maintains this specific tone throughout the entire film. It doesn't get too dramatic. It doesn't get too sarcastic. It just maintains a specific way that really feels good throughout the entire film. And I really enjoy... I can't...
And it's not, like, super depressing or overly happy. Like, it's just a good, even balance.
Kim, what's your second point?
I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about, but I really love the overall story and kind of message it's portraying. Like, I was having a hard time thinking of how to explain this, but it's not that the main characters were, like, underdogs, but they, in a sense, they kind of were. And the fact that there was so much pressure on them from other characters to be doing different things, right? Like Angus with his parents, and then Paul with the headmaster, and then Mary just trying to get through grief and present herself in a certain way at parties and so forth. Like, I just felt like they always had this pressure on them to kind of be somebody else. But in the film, I liked the story. Like you said, like it wasn't like these drastic transformations, but they did grow enough to make you feel really good about where the story lands at the end.
I think that the main point of the film is that these are three people that did not want to be around each other. You might debate that with Mary in this, since she kind of gets along with Paul in the beginning. But these are characters that really did not like being around everybody else at the time.
Right.
I think Mary was basically, she was in grief and she just did not want to be around people, which is kind of why she did the holdover session at this point.
Because she didn't want to be like around her family.
Yeah. And Professor Hunnam was just a guy who hated kids and hated people, essentially. So he didn't want to be around anybody. And then Dominic Sessa didn't want to be around either Mary or Mr. Hunnam because he hates them both. Well, he doesn't hate Mary so much, but he hates Hunnam a great deal.
And he wanted to be with his family because it's winter break, right? Like kids like, oh, I get a break from school. I want to be with my family. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you. The story of this film is actually very good. I really like it, but it really is the characters, I think, that make this movie exceptional. Because you might hear the story and be like, it's kind of like those type of movies usually, right? And I'm not familiar with I think the genre of films that it's trying to portray, which is this is like a specific 70s like film set in like schools or boarding schools or something like that. I'm not
I'm not super familiar either, and I think that's why like I liked it, because maybe it's just something out of the norm for me. Like I even loved, like, it sounds silly, but I even loved the title, because I went into this movie and I didn't read anything about the film. I didn't read what the plot was. I didn't read that it was up for awards. Nothing. Like I mean, obviously you told me it was up for a few awards beforehand, but so I went into it and I'm like, what the hell does the Holdovers even mean? And then I was like, oh, they're held over on winter break. Like, this is interesting. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was like kind of cool. Like, I was like, oh, this is a cool title. And then, because like you said, I'm not as familiar with, you know, boarding schools or films about boarding schools. I don't know anything about it. So that's why I liked the story.
Let me get into my third point. And I think this is your third point too, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So the right mix of humor and drama in the film. And this also goes with the tone, I would say, in this movie, and where things get serious in the film, but they do enough to sprinkle a little comedy in there to not overpower the drama. And same thing with the comedy. A lot of funny things do happen in the film, but there's enough seriousness into it where it's not like wacky or unrealistic in this.
Right.
Again, like the mix of what's in this film just fits so well. And I think that's like the main thing I want to get across, is that just the way that this film mixes the characters, the tone, and the right amount of drama and comedy, I think is just incredibly well done.
And, you know, just something to point out is the way that the film made me feel, right? Like, I just felt like I just wanted more. Like, I wanted more of the characters. Like, I wanted to watch a part 2. I don't know, like, because I liked their performances so much. And I know, you know, I am not an expert at reviewing films whatsoever, right? I have not been doing this long. You have been doing this for a very long time. And I remember when we first started doing this and you asked me to be a guest on this podcast, you said, Kim, just talk about how it makes you feel. Yeah. How does the film make you feel? And I don't know, like, I just felt kind of like comforted in a weird way. Like, I don't know how to explain that, where maybe it was just the tone and the characters in the film. I just felt like, oh, wow, like, even though they disliked each other in the beginning, the film brought like an underlying hope. And that's what I really enjoyed about it.
I would say not only just the characters and the story, but also the setting. Like, there's something about the setting in this film where it's just vast emptiness, and it's filled with snow all the time, and it's in these old but warm-feeling buildings that just feels so right in this film.
Yeah, like, well, that's New England for you.
Yeah.
I was like, they don't say where the school is. Where it is. They do?
Yeah, it's near Boston.
Well, near Boston, but it doesn't say like the town, and it says that they need to drive to get there. So I was like, when I looked at it, it almost looks like New Hampshire. So I was like, I wonder if this is supposed to be set in New Hampshire, because when they drive to Boston, they're driving through all these like smaller towns to get there. The setting looks like New Hampshire. So I was like, oh, I'm home. I was like, this is like where I live. Like, it just reminded me of where I live. And I mean, I'm from Massachusetts anyway and reside in New Hampshire now. But for me, that's a huge comfort.
I just like the setting and the way that the film is shot and everything. It
complements the tone to a T. Like, there's, like you said, like the vast areas, the snow, the old New England buildings. I don't know, like going from the tone of the characters not liking each other to towards the end of the film where they visit Boston and there's the city and the ice skating and the happiness. And I don't know. I agree. 100% agree.
So, Kim, who do you recommend this for?
Those that are from New England enjoy watching comforting settings.
Oh, my God. Look at that.
Basically everything I just said.
Yeah, there you go.
And then people who enjoy a good film that brings hope through characters.
And who do you not recommend this for?
Those that maybe wouldn't enjoy a throwback film. I mean, that's kind of pushing it. I had a really hard time coming up with who it's not recommended for because I really loved the movie. So I kind of recommend it to everybody.
Yeah,
with you.
This is definitely a film where people, I would say, even if you look at it and go, this is really not something I'm into, I'd say still check it out.
Still watch it. Yeah. I watched the film yesterday and then I went to my parents' house last night for dinner. And the first thing I said, I was like, oh, I just watched this really good movie. I just can't remember the last time I said that.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like with something that's new, like a movie that's come out that's new. Usually most newer movies, I'm like, it was okay. It was good. It was okay. But I was like, I really liked this movie.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell everybody about it because that's how much I liked it.
All right.
What about you?
Okay, so who do I recommend this for? I recommend this for people if you enjoy this type of throwback film. I don't even really want to call it a throwback film, to be absolutely honest, because there's probably films like this that have been made in the past few years, but I just have never even seen them or don't even know they exist. But think like The Dead Poets Society, School Ties, Taps. Well, not Taps. Movies like that where they're set in boarding schools.
Right.
I don't think there's a lot of movies that are set in boarding schools anymore, but I'm pretty sure someone in the comments are going to say, actually, this movie came out last year that was set in boarding school. I'm like, okay. If you enjoy this type of film, I would say definitely check it out. Also, if you want a more character-driven film, this is all about the characters. This is all about the way that they interact with each other. If you are into that, I would say check it out as well. Who do I not recommend this for? If the setting is not to your liking.
If you're not into wintry scenes and old buildings, I guess.
Is
that what you're meaning?
Not just that. I think more people would have no problem with that.
Like the setting of the 70s? Is that what you mean? I'm just curious. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
More like a setting revolving around a lot of rich kids that are in privilege.
Okay, got it. Yeah, if that really pisses you off to the point where you're just I can't watch this.
Or if you're one of those people who's why would I want to watch a bunch of rich people? The same people who are who won't watch Succession because it's about a bunch of rich people. I'm like, oh, that's such a terrible way to think. But
at the same time, I think those people could still watch this because
I agree.
Mary and Paul shit all over them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where some of the humor comes in.
Absolutely.
I think you had a hard time picking who this is not recommended for too, though, because it was such a good film.
Yes, I absolutely. Yeah. Why don't we just get into it then? I recommend the film, and do you?
I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Very good film.
Anyone should watch this. It was so good, and now I fully understand why it's up for so many awards.
Yeah. It's a funny film, but it's got some good drama in it too. Great performances. This is definitely a film that I would love to own. And I would love to see again at some point. It's
for sure. I would rewatch, definitely. I don't rewatch a lot of films. I'm not that person that'll go back unless I found it really, really funny or really good or it, touched me some way, feelings wise. And this was one of those films that did that.
I don't like to rewatch films either, to be absolutely honest. And
it's weird. I always like to see something new.
Yeah. What usually films that I do end up rewatching are movies where people are oh, this is so good, and I watched it previously, and I just did not like it. It's maybe I missed something, and then I go ahead and watch it.
Right.
And then usually what happens is, nope, I still don't like it. That's how I got tricked into watching The Notebook about 5 times. It's...
You don't like that film?
No, I do not. I like parts of it, but overall, it's just
it was okay. I think it was overrated personally, but I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it.
I'm kind of there with you, but this is also what started me to not like Ryan Gosling so much, because everyone's like, oh, Ryan Gosling is so good in this movie. And I'm like...
But now we like him in Barbie.
Oh, yeah, he was good in Barbie. I will give him that. And he was good in Blade Runner 2049 as well. Anyway, back to The Holdovers. We both recommend this. You recommend it highly. I think I would too. I think this is a really good movie. Funny, good drama and good parts. The performances are great. I especially love Paul Giamatti in this movie, but I'm a Paul Giamatti fan. So
I like him too. Over just as an actor, I think he's great.
But Devon Joy Randolph is actually really good in this too.
Yeah.
I think she's very good as well.
fantastic.
3 great performances in the movie. Excellent movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It's on Peacock right now. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. Thank you for listening to this review. If you want to know what we're reviewing in the next couple of days, you can look on the screen right now to see what's coming up next. If you like what you heard, go ahead and leave a like on this video. If you want to discuss your opinion on the film or the review itself, please leave a comment. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the channel. Thank you again for listening. I will talk to you next time.